Kentucky, biking for Vocations.
That avid cyclist is 59-year-old Fern Greenwell, a lay Catholic woman on a mission. Her story begins in Arizona, where Fern is a parishioner at Santa Cruz Catholic Church and a resident of 3 Points, a small community southwest of Tucson.
I love to bike. I grew up in a rural area, so the bike was my freedom. And I always said I wanted to ride across the United States, not knowing what that meant, what that entailed. But now that I'm turning 60 this year, I thought, well, now's the time to do it.
Her husband, Geoffrey Greenwell, suggested she harness that enthusiasm for cycling to bike for Vocations.
We talked about it, not being something too self-centered, selfish, inward-looking. And so I think Geoffrey came up with the excellent idea of dedicating it to vocation awareness for the crisis in our church.
Unable to have children, the couple took on a life-giving role in the church by promoting vocations to the priesthood and consecrated religious life.
Our faith is at stake, and a healthy faith, so we need good vocations and holy vocations.
Though the seed was planted, the question became, could they do it? Fern would be battling the elements and terrain of 15 states during some of the hottest months of the year.
I love being outdoors, but I was a little concerned about that being every day and all day. But in the end, I think we were very blessed with the weather.
The couple started in their home diocese of Tucson, Arizona, where their bikes were blessed by the director of vocations, Father Alan Valencia, at the Cathedral of St. Augustine in Tucson. In mid-April, they hopped on I-10 in their RV. 5 days later, the Greenwells arrived in St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city and home to the national shrine of Our Lady of La Leche.
And so for us, it was this is a way to our vocation. We offered it up. Hopefully there would be some spiritual birth that would be given to that. Hopefully spiritual children or vocations that could come with that. So and that was in our own hearts. So it was a nice way, sort of Our Lady of Good Birth, and Our Lady of Milk and Good Birth, to give birth to vocations.
After dipping her bike tires in the Atlantic Ocean, the former Peace Corps volunteer rode 3,800 miles on her bike while her husband followed along in their RV. Though on a different type of tread, Geoffrey played a supportive role behind the scenes, managing schedules and logistics.
I think we were both operating outside of our comfort zone. I'm not really kind of like an activist. Usually pretty quiet with my faith, and I don't go out there and try to say, we're biking for vocation kind of thing. It required a change in maybe not character, but an attitude. And I think that change, actually, as a reflection, that change when we're forced out of our comfort zone and you rely on the Holy Spirit is there, and there's a sense of presence and purpose that I had not felt.
Fern is a member of the Discalced Carmelites secular order.
I've taken final promises as Discalced Carmelite, yes. Secular order.
A secular order is made up of Catholics who are living in the world and striving for the perfection of charity and work for the sanctification of the world.
My passion happens to be bicycles. My passion also happens to be, the Carmelite, Discalced Carmelite spirituality.
Their journey took them through 19 dioceses. Fern and Geoffrey stopped at 71 churches, missions, shrines, and convents. The couple was intentional about taking time to participate in local parish life across the nation at masses, Eucharistic adorations, devotions, rosaries, and presentations.
A lot of times people would ask me, well, what was your favorite state, or what was your favorite part? Or I think the answer to that would just be the people that we met. And it was fun and it was enriching to meet new people every day. How often do you get to do that? We don't get to do that very often. So that was an enriching part of the whole experience, yeah.
The Greenwells made time to stop and pray for vocations and meet with pastors and parishioners. Beyond their quest to promote vocations, it was personally enriching for Geoffrey and Fern.
And I had plenty of time to maybe say a rosary and remember The bishop in the diocese where we were, the seminarians, and then any special requests. Ideally, we were praying for young people who might be discerning a vocation, either to marriage or to a religious life.
They met hundreds of people, Catholic and otherwise, giving them the chance to evangelize. Even if drivers caught a glimpse of the RV while passing Geoffrey on the highway, they would have seen Bike for Vocations proudly displayed.
And there's a whole lot of kindness shown. Of course, you're among a community which would tend to be kind in any case. But it's very nice to sort of pray together and to have that sort of interaction as a church. So as not just a little bit outside, broader than the parish community, and you see that aspect. You see the imprint of the Catholic faith across the country, and it's there, and it was nice to see.
As they made their way west, Geoffrey particularly enjoyed learning about the history of the Catholic Church in America. Their journey taught them
There's always been a country in need of vocations.
Fast forward to 2023, the issue is more prevalent than ever. A statistician by trade, Geoffrey has a mind for the numbers.
Roughly speaking, it was 90,000 priests, and now we're down to about 35,000 priests. And of course, with the sisters, it's even worse. There are increase of deacons.
On the one hand, you're looking at the statistics, it appears that the church is dying. We also believe it's fully under control by the Holy Spirit. It's the bride of Christ. And so maybe it's going through a renewal. Maybe it will be a smaller church, a stronger church. It's a dynamic church.
The Greenwells spent 83 days on the road that included 64 biking days, averaging 60 miles a day.
You could definitely get a sense that the Catholic culture was shared, whether you were in the Southeast, the Midwest, or the Pacific Northwest. There was a similar culture.
It probably gave more to us spiritually, individually, and to see our church kind of like from a real sort of more intimate perspective. Historically, how the church is in Florida, how it is going across the South, how it is in the Midwest, and all the richness that there is of our Catholic history in America, which is wonderful. And then also just see how other communities and other dioceses are also engaging and working in sort of in the vocations, each one of them aware. So it was nice to sort of join in that. So I think the spiritual value was just in joining in with what already was being done.
It must have been divine intervention that Fern only had one flat tire in 7 million revolutions of the wheel. Amazingly, there was only one hiccup, courtesy of her husband.
I ran over Fern's bicycle, and sure enough, that was the only accident she had. It was because I rode over her bicycle. But in the light of faith, you can raise it up and you can say, "There's a wonderful thing." And we'll just offer it up and thank God for this.
Following the path forged by explorers Lewis and Clark, Fern's momentum gained during the trip was losing steam as she reached the end of her expedition. However, a simple call from the Diocese of Tucson to nudge the Archdiocese of Portland prompted their vocations director to jump on his own bike and go meet her. Much like our lives and spiritual journeys, there was one last physically trying battle to overcome before Fern reached the end of the road. Overcoming steep elevation gain, Fern summited the coastal mountains and finally arrived at the Pacific Ocean.
It was exhilarating. It was very exhilarating. It was a hard day, by the way. I think I had the biggest elevation gain in that day. Jeff had a little surprise waiting for me at the end with a few people from the local parish there.
She was unaware.
I was not aware of that, so I biked down the boardwalk and then just got a hearty welcome.
Her pilgrimage ended providentially right where the Lewis and Clark Trail concluded in Seaside, Oregon. After 3,800 miles, Fern's arrival at the coast was celebrated by the rousing support of dozens of Catholics and well-wishers.
Welcome to Seaside! Hello!
Hey, Fern.
Hello.
Welcome. Congratulations.
As the miles moved into memories for this couple, the Greenwells shared what Catholic communities can take away from their journey. Their pilgrimage taught them to ask for one thing, that families talk with their children about vocations.
And Canon 233 is the only canon law, the only law I find that specifically places the obligation of vocations on families. So it states that the duty of fostering vocations rests with the entire Christian community. This duty especially binds families, Christian families.
More than a voyage of personal sacrifice, this was a call to young men and women, reminding them that God is always with them on their journeys.
So whatever it might be, even if it seems to be at odds, if you can somehow marry that together, God will bless it. So it's what I like to do. I'm doing it for God, whether it's big or small.